Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat?
Of course, a new member of our team this football season, Ross Jackson from LouisianaSports.net, hopping on with us because although it's the first day of Super Bowl week, the Saints just had to force themselves into the news cycle. Thanks for jumping on. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Good. First of all, there was the report earlier today from Schefter that it looks like, barring any setbacks, Kellen Moore will be the guy. I don't think that's a giant surprise. My surprise is we didn't get that report late last week because that's what happened with Kubiak last year.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And, I will say this. You know it if you've been reading at LouisianaSports.net. I'm just saying. But here's the thing. But here's the thing. You'll notice that a lot of the people that were reporting around the Kellen Moore nationally, that were reporting around the Kellen Moore news last week, were all NFL media people, right? Tom Pelissero,
Diana Rossini.
Yeah, right. So it's all, but a lot of the people that were reporting like, hey, they're having the third meeting, were literally people employed by the NFL as a part of their media. So they really have to walk the line of the NFL rules, right? When you get outside of that, then you start to see like a little bit more kind of preemptive reporting, which is what you saw from Adam Schefter today, who said what we've been saying, which is that, this is most likely going to be the hire, barring a setback. Now, did we find the setback? That part we don't know.
Okay. Excellent transition. That's why you're really good at what you do. So let's talk about that potential setback. All right, so for the listener, the viewer who knows nothing about who maybe just saw the headline, church scandal cover-up thing, give me the super, explain it to a third grader.
Yeah.
What's happened here?
Yeah, so there's a church in New Orleans that did some very, very bad things, or that you have members of clergy that were a part of some very, very bad things, and apparently the New Orleans Saints were a part of, allegedly kind of guiding a little bit of the language and spin around it. And then now there's further accusations that maybe they were a little bit more involved with all of it. I grew from third grade a little bit throughout
No, that's fine. You used accusations. But whenever – I don't know if a third grader knows that word. Maybe.
I knew that word in third grade.
Probably did too, but then you and I are kind of –
well, we're in trouble.
But you try to get me to do long division right now. I'm screwed.
Done.
Okay, but you said the New Orleans Saints. So what's more important, I think, than just saying the Saints are the specific names of those alleged to have been involved.
Yeah. And so that would be executives that are amongst those named were owner Gayle Benson, team spokesperson Greg Binsel, and then team president Dennis Lauscha. So these are, really, these are people that are kind of away from the football operations part, so it shouldn't impact the fan and the viewer in that way in terms of what happens on the field. But it is a top-down type situation to where there are people that are allegedly involved in all of this that are the decision-makers and core decision-makers of what eventually trickles down to what you see.
Yeah, man. So, here's this is my big picture question. I don't know the answer to this. I don't think you have the answer to this either. It's just for food for thought. I mean, we're talking about some pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Again, allegations. There are emails, so there's documentation here. Now, it's not like someone – it's just he said, she said. There is –
276 emails were leaked that
that's a lot.
Create all of this.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Is there a reality in which something like what we saw with Donald Sterling with the Clippers or Dan Snyder with the Commanders, Washington football team, where you're talking about a conduct detrimental type policy where the league says – we're forcing you out.
Yeah, so what that would require is for the league to conduct some type of independent investigation as the NFL into the situation. Roger Goodell was actually just speaking, the commissioner of the NFL here, I think upstairs, literally just above where we are. And he was asked about this, and one of the things that he said was, look, this is something that the FBI is involved in, that he believes some local law enforcement are involved in, and so he's just going to kind of leave it to that and kind of mention that his understanding is that the Saints were serving a supporting role in order to create greater transparency from the archdiocese of New Orleans, which is the organization that's all a part of this and everything. So he did not reference any kind of interest in or forecast any kind of investigation from the NFL, and even went so far really as to kind of have Gayle, Benson, and the others that were named in this, their back in the midst of all of it in terms of his supportive language of them. So as of right now, I wouldn't expect anything to come of that. But this is also typical of the NFL when there are ongoing investigations that are happening, that they don't get involved until after the ongoing investigations have concluded. That way they don't potentially sway something outside of their organization.
Obviously, that's the way it should go that way. I mean, there's a presumption of innocence until guilt is proven. The burden of proof falls on the accuser. So we'll see not to suggest they did anything illegal.
No, but the big part of it is that if there is something here that ends up, popping off, then or something else is uncovered or whatever, the NFL, if they start an investigation now, they're behind on that. The other side of it is that if they see that and they say, you know what, that is conduct detrimental in terms of what we look at, then that could potentially influence anything that would potentially go to civil cases, court, anything like that, and they don't want that to happen.
Yeah, man. That's this story, which has been going on really for 5 years now, right? When the initial accusations were in 2019. So I don't think this is going away, but it was for that news drop on the morning of day one of Super Bowl week in New Orleans was something. We'll continue to follow that story. Now, as I understand it, Kellen Moore is about to speak to the media?
That's correct. So Kellen Moore and both teams really are about to be made available over at the Caesars Superdome as a part of the opening night. So hopefully we'll be able to get some time with Kellen Moore and be able to kind of get some questions in about his interviews and things ongoing with the New Orleans Saints. He'll probably be very careful about how he answers those things, of course, but it will be interesting to see if we can get a little bit of his side on it.
Can he answer it?
He can answer and say what he has done already. What he would have to be careful of, and what I imagine that he would be careful of, is to not tip off or say anything to his team that would have them feel like his focus is on that job and not them in the Super Bowl. So it's really just kind of like making sure that you remain present for your team more than anything else. I don't think there's anything he could say that would get them in trouble unless they were like, yeah, Mickey and I were on the phone last night. Then that would get them in trouble, certainly. But Mickey Loomis and the New Orleans Saints are very much playing this, if I can borrow from Adam Schefter, by the book, as he said. They're going to do everything they can to make sure that there is no sort of confusion or concern about this potentially being what would be considered a tampering situation. Yeah, especially with the Eagles practicing at the Saints facility this week.
So, that is...
That's exactly. This is what happened to the Arizona Cardinals. This is the same thing that happened to the Arizona
Eagles.
Cardinals. Same thing. The Eagles were practicing at the Cardinals facility, getting ready for the Super Bowl there in Phoenix a couple years ago, and then Jonathan Gannon goes over and takes the job, and then all of a sudden they were like, "Wait a minute, y'all weren't supposed to talk," So the Saints are like, "Look, bro, we're not talking. They're over there, like we in the house, but we don't talk to one another." You know what I mean? The
Eagles and Cardinals ended up just doing a pick swap. It was a relatively benign thing. It was what was happening, but again, as you said, by the book, by the letter of the law, how it all has to go. It'll be interesting to see what Kellen Moore might say when he meets with reporters here or throughout the week. Yeah. How do you feel? And by the way, I guess it's noteworthy. There was more news about assistants taking other jobs.
Correct.
Happened today?
Yeah. So now the one that we had already expected, which was quarterbacks coach for the New Orleans Saints, Andrew Janocko, he's going to be following Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator who's headed over to Seattle. Along with them, offensive line coach John Benton, also traveling over to Seattle. And now, so the other offensive coaching staff member that we're watching in the midst of all this is Derek Foster, who they brought in last year from the Los Angeles Chargers as a running back coach. He was given the opportunity to go and interview with the Dallas Cowboys, did interview. We'll see if he ends up potentially leaving as well. So those are kind of the things that we kind of expect when you see a new head coach come in, to where some of these assistants end up heading out because there's no guarantee for them here. So we'll see, if there's any other exodus that happens.
So that was going to be my follow-up. Ross Jackson's our guest. Does all of this suggest that royal wave? Did the assistants leaving suggest that they know Darren Rizzi's not getting the job, or they're just not leaving it to chance?
I think they're just not leaving it to chance.
Okay.
I mean, look, this was kind of the conversation from the very beginning. When we did our end-of-year press conference with Mickey Loomis, the general manager, he said that basically the way that he looks at it is that everybody's employed, but if you start getting interviews and start getting the opportunity to go and talk to other people, just come and talk to me, let me know, and then handle it kind of on a case-by-case basis. So what I imagine that this actually signifies more than anything else, or indicates more than anything else, is that there's going to be change, right? And that there was already expected to be change, whether that was Darren Rizzi, whether it's Kellen Moore, whether it was going to be Mike McCarthy, whatever. It kind of shows you that they looked at this coaching staff and they looked at sort of this opportunity here with a new head coach coming in to say, you know what, here's a chance to change everything, change a lot of stuff, get new schemes, get new systems in, and be able to kind of push forth to a new era that's not connected to the previous era.
Bro, they really traded Luka for street clothes.
They really did trade Luka for street clothes, and I just want to make sure that I mention out loud for everybody, in case you haven't heard, that Anthony Davis was traded away from Los Angeles before he thanked New Orleans. So I just want to make sure. I don't know why. I don't know why I feel compelled to say that, but I do.
It'll never happen. We'll just never ever see it happen.
It's great. I don't want the bit to die. So
no, it won't die. That's going to live, and he's going to make sure that it lives for a long, long time. All right, I know you got to go get on a shuttle over to the Dome to go talk to Kellen Moore. So make sure you ask him good questions and really prod him to make sure that he gets some good stuff. Get it exclusively for LouisianaSports.net and the Locked On Saints podcast as well. So if you're not subscribed to Locked On Saints, shame on you. All right, Ross, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Good to see you.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.